Alright guys, so this is Nicholas. I completely did not pay attention to the fact this was due on Wednesday, so I'm turning it in a little bit late. But thank you for watching it if you do. Let's see here. So I did my project over chronic wasting disease. Chronic wasting disease, as you can see, is a fatal transmissible spongiform encephalopathy of white-tailed deer. Basically, it's a really nasty virus they get, or disease. It's typically spread through the saliva and or stool. A lot of deer will get it when they fight each other, and then they lick their wounds, or they lick their siblings' wounds, whoever's in the tussle. There's little known about it because it's very hard to capture and test deer, elk, moose, that whole lot. So the little bit they do know about it is unfortunately from deceased deer. I'm personally interested in it because of my love for wildlife. I'm going to school to be a veterinarian. That's my plan, and I have a passion for any disease or virus or any type of sickness that we can stop. I think it's a very big deal to be educated on it first. So my null and alternative research question here, what the data I pulled, what I was looking for, is the original, the mean lifespan of deer with CWD or chronic wasting disease is greater than 5 years. The average lifespan is anywhere from 2 to 6 years for a deer in the wild, so I kind of wanted to see about 5 years. And then the alternative is the mean lifespan of deer with CWD is less than or equal to the 5 years. My personal guess, probably less than, unfortunately. And then you can see it written out there at the bottom. The main data source I pulled from is here. When you get to the catalog, it'll give you an option to press on the CWD about halfway down. That's where I got my data. A majority of data. Like I said, there's not a ton out there. Data source has both wild and captive data. Not really complete data for the wild samples, so I'm only going with the captive samples. And they notate the age as cases. So each case, if the case says 4, then the average age was 4 for those cases. I don't know why they labeled it like that, but that's what I found out. This is the descriptive statistics and histograms of my data. As you can see, I pulled 14 samples from Colorado, 14 from Minnesota. There were a ton of them all over, but I needed to pull, at least a good 25 samples. Gives you your mean, standard deviation, your lower and upper quartile, your 1 and 3. As you can see, Minnesota's 1 pretty much all the way across. The average age for the few counties we could find there were 1, that they all pretty much passed. And this is, again, the age of the deer with positive chronic wasting disease was 1 year old. Colorado was a little bit more skewed. There was a little bit more of a curve, but it still, as you can see, is pretty much under 5. And you can see here the confidence interval. Basically, it tells us that the Colorado samples, the lower and upper limits, which are the confidence intervals, 95% of the positive chronic wasting disease samples fall between the ages of 0.98, so right at a year, and almost 2.5 years of age. For Minnesota, the samples pretty much tell us that 100% of them were all at about 1 year old whenever they passed. Hypothesis testing. So the test statistic of the values, I highlighted that. The significance level used, I used 0.05. It's the most used one, and it's the easiest to get your answer with. My p-value was right at 0.05, but it was still under. The p-value is the probability that the null hypothesis should or should not be rejected. Helps give you that answer. P-value of less than the significance value of 5, or of 0.05, I apologize, means pretty much you reject the null hypothesis, your original, in most cases. So in conclusion, after filtering through the data given, creating histograms, bell curves, mini charts consisting of the confidence interval, lower, upper quartiles, p-value, all of that, we decided to reject the null hypothesis, meaning that the alternative was accepted. So therefore, the mean lifespan of deer with CWD is less than or equal to the 5 years of age. And as you saw with the Colorado cases, the majority of them were like 3, 4, and it's sad. And these are the few sites I pulled everything from. There's not a ton of data out there, but what I found, there's not a ton dictating the age either, but what I found was pretty sad. All right, thank you guys for listening. I went a bit over 5 minutes, but I appreciate it. Thanks.